Okay, we're getting started. It's Saturday baseball. Saturday fantasy baseball. Here we go. We're waiting for the chat room to fill up and to get the sound through there. That's what we really are waiting for, the sound. Oh my goodness, it's already there. So we're early today. So let me just let my friends know in the chat room and we will get started. Okay. Hello to Bradley J522, who has a NL only draft today. I wish I would have known that earlier. I could have prepared to get you some sleepers, but I did not know that you were having an NL only draft today. So I don't have a lot to offer you except for from the notes that we already have. Chris from Cambridge, whoop-de-doo. Hope you're doing well today. Eddie and Teresa Heckman. Yes, we have to talk about Jackson Holliday to our favorite Baltimore Orioles fans. And, of course, this guy hits a home run in his first at-bat off a lefty. I'm sure that the Orioles fans are a little frustrated right now, but we do have a little more info on the Jackson Holliday stuff other than just bitching about the fact that the Orioles kept him down to keep him for an extra year. And that's how baseball works. So whether you like it or not, if it's happening to your team, that's how it works. So if you want to change it, you got to change the rules. We also have Leonard Donaldson, SM King Turd, Timothy Hooker, and a bunch of guests. I love that SM King Turd always comes as two people, so we have an extra person listening to our podcast, I guess. It makes our chat room look more full, all right? So that's what we got going on. And also, I also wanted to, give me 1 second. I got to make this bigger, and I have to... It's not Leonard Donaldson. It must be DK Luce that was going to come and we were going to talk about his most shares of players. A lot of times on X, the guys from the NFBC, who I'm getting to know very well right now, they're very fun people. They're very smart people. They spend a lot of money playing fantasy, so it's not just for clout, it's for money, and I'm starting to really like these guys. That's really where I play mostly now. At least most of my money leagues are over there. And what was I going to say? Oh, I was going to talk about player shares. So after draft season is done, all these guys, they show all the player shares. And the interesting thing about player shares is that Leonard Donaldson, maybe you sent me your player shares and I was Andrea Sox fan and not Roto Lady, and that's why I'm not seeing them. So if it was you, I think it was, go ahead and put in the chat room the shares, the players that you have the most shares of this year. And the thing about player shares is really, it's not necessarily your best guys. I mean, I have Zach Gallen on all four of my money leagues. So he's the only player that I have on all my teams at the NFBC. But then I have Brandon Drury and Elias Diaz from Colorado. And it's not necessarily that these guys are your best players, but they're players that you have targeted in drafts, especially for me with Brandon Drury. I targeted him. Okay, let me take that back. I did not target Brandon Drury, okay? But Brandon Drury was a very affordable second baseman that is going to hit for some power, and if you need him as your middle infielder, that's really where Brandon Drury came in. He was just so cheap. And Elias Diaz, he was like the last good catcher off the board. You can call him good, you can call him mediocre, but he's going to get playing time in a great ballpark. His batting average does not kill you, and he is a catcher that I ended up with in most of my money leagues. Also, Jordan Montgomery, I have him in 3 of 4 leagues, and boy, oh boy, was this week a little stressful for me thinking this guy wasn't going to get signed. I knew that Scott Boras is not having a great offseason, and everybody has documented all the reasons why. I said if this guy doesn't get Monty signed, he should just retire, because there's not been a time that not a star, but one of Boris's clients, okay? He only really has stars as who players that he represents. Boy, am I having trouble getting my words out today, okay? It's Saturday morning, so I looked at the history of Scott Boras and I said to myself, Monty is going to sign this week. He has to sign because the only time that it even came close was back in 2013 when he represented Kyle Loesch, and Loesch didn't have a job until like the day before baseball started. I was pretty sure Monty would sign, so I felt like it was pretty safe to draft him. I mean, that's what it is. So let's get going. The player shares, Leonard Donaldson says he has Walker Buehler in 5 of 5 leagues. So Walker Buehler, interesting topic we're going to talk a little bit about today. I think I also have a share or two of Walker Buehler. My question is, what is taking this guy so long to come back from Tommy John surgery? He's literally coming up on almost 2 years of coming back from Tommy John, and I realize it was his second Tommy John surgery, but does that really make a big difference in how long it takes you to get back? Walker Buehler could be a difference maker. I absolutely agree with you. Bradley, an NL only league. We have a wonderful chat room here full of very knowledgeable people. If you want to have, if you guys want to help out Bradley, he's one of our old school friends that loves baseball. Please, give him some sleepers, some NL only sleepers in the chat room, and that would be much appreciated to help out our friend Bradley. Good morning to Mitchell. Good morning, Mitchell. Great to see you. Mitchell thinks that Mark Prior is the same pitcher, or he's comparing Mark Prior to Walker Buehler. Guess SM King Turd says that he feels like the owners colluded against Scott Boras. There's a lot of collusion going on in baseball these days, right? Right? Okay, we'll see what happens, but all right, let's get to the nitty and the gritty about what's been going on in baseball the last couple days. And I don't know if it's just the season or if I do this every season, but I just felt such nostalgia this year. It's just been a great time. I felt like the games on Thursday were excellent. Maybe it's just me, but I just felt like there was so much fandom going on over at X, and I haven't really been on social media too much over the last 4 or 5 years, but I've been spending a lot of time on X, and I found a lot of great baseball fans there. They're just always rooting for their team and knocking on the other people who are rooting against their team, and it's a good time. So Rafael Devers was scratched from the lineup yesterday, and what in the world does that mean? He's a pretty high-priced fantasy guy, and we rely on him as a sturdy, everyday guy, and he was scratched yesterday because of left shoulder soreness. Now, he was set to start at third base and bat second. We don't know if the absence will extend beyond yesterday. We'll see if he's in the lineup today. But with Devers out, Bobby Dalbec started at third base, and Tyler O'Neill moved from fifth to second in the batting order. So Tyler O'Neill hitting between Jarren Duran and Masataka Yoshida. Also, Lenny, why are you putting my stuff in the chat room before I get to it?
What, Bueller?
Yes, I already have that information for the people.
Oh, I didn't know.
Just teasing you, Leonard. It's okay. If you follow a guy on X named Mark Gooden, it's at 2Gooden17. He's actually the beat writer for the New York Mets, and he posts stuff in such a way that you really think the guy is kidding most of the time. Yesterday he said, some of you may have noticed that newly signed Met JD Martinez is not in the starting lineup today. He did not make the major league roster out of spring training, and he will start the season in the minors. And you take a second glance at that and you go, what the hell? No. Mark Vientos was already sent down to the minors to make way for JD Martinez to hit as designated hitter. But it's true. JD Martinez needs a little bit more time to get warmed up for the season. So yes, it's true. JD Martinez down in the minors for however long it takes this guy. I don't know how long it could take him. He's a dang veteran, okay? It's not like he's a youngster. The Dodgers attendance yesterday. Where's Danny? Is Captain Danny here? All right. SM King Turd loves Luis Angel Acuna. Apparently he blasted one in the minors. SM King Turd thinks Acuna will be up sooner rather than later. Luis Angel Acuna for the Mets. You might want to stash him as a sleeper in your NL only. You also have Dodgers attendance, 47,524. So if you thought that the Dodgers would sell out every game this season, you are already wrong. The seating at Dodger Stadium has never increased its capacity. It is 56,000. So the attendance yesterday, probably because tickets are so dang expensive, but they did not sell out. Also, another tidbit that's kind of out of nowhere, but I saw it on TV today, so I thought it was too damn funny to forget about. St. Paul, Minnesota, their minor league team is called the St. Paul Saints. All right? They have a new mascot that they introduced yesterday, and it's a pig. It's a ball pig, and they named the pig Ozempig. And then they said that he's getting into the best shape of his life, just like a lot of major league players do during spring training. They got him on a certain diet, but his name is Ozempig. All right? And it kind of reminds me of when they had a mascot named Notorious P.I.G. It's too good. There's a mascot in Georgia called Makin' Bacon. I mean, some of these mascots and minor league team names are just too funny to pass up, okay? Dodgers starter Bobby Miller, standing ovation yesterday when he left the field after 6 innings, 2 hits, 0 runs, struck out 11, walked 1, and he struck out 11 of the 21 batters he faced while just allowing 3 base runners. It was his first win of the season. You know he's 24 years old, and he finished last year with 11-4 record, a 3.76 ERA, a 110 WHIP, and 119 strikeouts across 22 starts last season. He is going to be a main part of this rotation, right? Again, this year. His next start will be at home versus San Francisco. Just having a sip of my coffee. I hope all of you are having a sip of your coffee too. All right. Dodgers great Manny Mota predicted that Bobby Miller will be a 20-game winner. He didn't say it would happen this year, but, you know, looking good so far, right? All right, I'll give you this tidbit, even though I think it's absolutely ridiculous, okay, because the best players get to play, and that's the way it works. MLB opening day rosters include 27.8 foreign-born players, 27.8% foreign-born players, 108 from the Dominican Republic, 58 from Venezuela, 18 from Cuba, 17 from Puerto Rico, 13 from Canada, 12 from Mexico, 10 from Japan. So, whoop-de-doo. And they'll still not pass the equity and inclusion criteria, even though foreign-born players make up 27.8% of MLB opening day rosters. At what point is enough enough? I mean, and either way, if you're the best player, you should get picked. That's the way it works. No matter what color you are, no matter what language you speak, if you play baseball the best, you should be in the lineup. Bottom line, the Astros, for the 4th consecutive year, lead MLB with 16 foreign-born players. Shohei Ohtani, speaking of foreign-born players, he went 0 for 4 and grounded into a double play. Also, Freddie Freeman did not get a hit. So, look, Ohtani, should we elaborate on this a little bit, or should we just let it slide? Because, to be honest, in my opinion, I'm not worried about the suspension. I don't think MLB has the balls to suspend this guy, nor do they want to suspend this guy. And whatever investigation that they're supposedly doing is a bunch of bull dinky and poppycock. However, the situation that he has on his mind, whether he's innocent or not, it's going to be on his mind, and you never know if it's going to affect his head MLB is a lot of mental stuff going on. And so it's impossible to know how much. He's got a great new interpreter. I'll say that. Everybody loves a new guy, of course, because everybody loves Ohtani. And I see a lot of people, mostly Dodgers fans, like if you even ask a question about some things that just don't make common sense, the Dodgers fans get so angry at you. They tell you that you're a hater. They say that, oh, you're out there wishing Ohtani would be guilty. And it's like, I don't know of anybody in baseball, even Padres fans, that want Ohtani to be guilty of something. I mean, it's horrible for baseball. It's horrible the fact that they sold out to gambling, and now, I mean, this is just the beginning of the problems, I could tell you. This is the beginning of the problems with the gambling. Just make it all legal, all right? Because there's nothing you can do to stop it. And I don't know how that would work either, but bottom line, don't question anything about Ohtani to Dodgers fans, or you might not have friends anymore, okay? That's all I'm saying. Anyway, Ohtani 0 for 4. That's going to happen. It's a long season, so 21 consecutive scoreless innings for the Oakland A's at home and counting. Their ballpark was completely empty. The only people there were the workers. I would have gone to the game yesterday just to have the whole dang stadium to myself, all right? I think it would have been a blast. However, they haven't scored a run at home in 21 consecutive innings, so that's that. Now, let's talk a little about Jeremy Pena. Dude plays for Houston, number one. Do you remember in 2022, he hit 22 home runs and stole 11 bases with the .253 batting average. He still stunk in on-base percentage leagues, but he did have a good season. That was in 2022. Last year, he had a better average and on-base percentage, but he really did not do great with the home runs. Okay, he went from 22 home runs in 2022 to less than half of that in 2023. He hit 10 home runs last year. However, Jeremy Pena overhauled his batting stance during the offseason to try to unlock more power for this year. He reworked his stance to minimize movement while focusing on driving balls to all areas of the field. Now, he has still not hit a home run since July 5th of last year, okay? And also, I want to tell you that not only in 2022 did he hit the 22 home runs, but he hit another 4 home runs in the postseason. And last year he hit 10 total. Hasn't hit a home run since July 5th of last year. So he's working on almost a full year, okay, without a home run. But he did do some work this offseason, and it has not paid off. Although it hasn't paid off in the home run department yet. But it has paid off in other things, such as yesterday so far this season, he went 3 for 8 with a double and 1 strikeout. So right now for the season, in only 8 at-bats, okay, I'll give you that, he's batting .375. Obviously, that's not going to continue. But let's take a look at his spring training numbers for this year. He didn't hit any home runs, but he had 5 extra base hits out of 11 hits total. So 5 of his 11 hits were extra bases, 4 of them were doubles, and 1 was a triple. So maybe it doesn't look like his power, changing his stance or whatever, has paid off yet. I do think it will. Now, let me tell you that Pena was dropped significantly and in fantasy leagues. I'm not saying that he's going to be great, have a great season or hit a whole 30 home runs or anything like that, but he could easily get up to 20. And you add that to his 15 or so stolen bases, he's worthy of having on your fantasy team as a late round pick or whatnot. A lot of love for Jeremy Pena has fallen away. Now back to Jackson Holliday, Matt Holliday's kid, homers in his first at bat against a lefty. Now a lot of people were saying maybe he just isn't, maybe that's his one flaw, maybe, right? Hitting against a lefty. He is a lefty, so he was still being drafted 175 overall, and I believe a lot of that was due to the fact that it looked like the Orioles might keep the guy up. But then in a crazy turn of events, which isn't so crazy if you think about it, the Orioles reassigned Holliday to the minor league camp, okay, on March 22nd. Now, he really tried hard to make the team out of camp. He hit .311 with a .354 on-base percentage with 2 home runs and 2 stolen bases during the spring, all right? But ultimately, what it came down to, and what it really came down to, is 2 things. The Orioles have a lot of quality infield options. Also, he's only 20 years old, and what we know to be the case, which Jim Bowden pointed out so nicely yesterday on X. He says, for those wondering what the approximate timetable is for top prospects that were optioned to the minors before opening day, such as the Jackson Holliday and James Wood from the Nationals, keep in mind this. The rules are that any player who is sent down and spends 20 or more days in the minors burns up an option year. It's only 20 days. Does that mean that he won't have enough at-bats to qualify for one of these great awards that Turd was talking about? Turd said you need over 500 at-bats to qualify for one of these awards. I don't know, and I don't think that includes the Rookie of the Year, but forgive me if I'm wrong here. Please correct me in the chat room. Good morning to the Hapster. Great to see you. All right, great to see you. Boom. Big Al, great to see you. Now that my fellow Mets fans are here, Laura is not here. Laura's down watching some great March Madness games, okay, at LSU, because Mary went to LSU. So we hope that Mary and Laura are having a wonderful time at March Madness. What a fun time that is, okay? So let's get going. What about Rhys Hoskins yesterday? So I went to lunch with Mark. We had a couple beverages for his birthday, and I came home feeling pretty spunky, and I saw Rhys Hoskins doing his wham-ambulance type thing from the dugout, and I got really annoyed after I saw what he did. I mean, it used to be that you literally went out of your way to run down the second baseman, like mow him down. Like there was some video being shared yesterday on X that I couldn't believe. And I remember watching these guys just, if they thought that the second baseman was going to catch and get him out or turn a double play, their ultimate goal was to ram into them as hard as they possibly could to try to knock them down. And it wasn't even like frowned upon. I mean, the second baseman wouldn't get all pissed off if somebody mowed him down, but there was some very bad injuries over a series of years that I remember when they changed the rule to say you cannot do that anymore, just like you cannot run over the catcher anymore. Rhys Hoskins, now mind you, I own this guy. I have him in multiple fantasy teams. I hope that this dude helps me win because I felt like he was a great buy, all right? He's a great buy. If you don't have a problem with your batting average, you can afford to get a guy like Rhys Hoskins. He's very cheap for considering that he could hit 30 home runs. Now, he didn't play all of last year, so that could be somebody's in their mind thinking, why is this guy trying to hurt himself? When McNeil never even caught the ball. Like, he wasn't going to... Before McNeil even got mowed down, he had already missed the catch. So Rhys Hoskins was going to be safe, and there was not going to be any chance of a double play happening. Although Rhys has always had a problem with the Mets because Rhys is a former Philly, okay? But I hate I just hated what I saw yesterday from Reese, because this guy doesn't have the balls to stand up to McNeil right then. He clearly went out of his way to try and knock McNeil over. There's no possible way anybody could tell me that that was just a natural slide into second base. Yeah, 30 years ago, I wouldn't even have had a problem with it. But now it was dirty to the max. He doesn't have the balls to say anything to McNeil until he runs to the dugout, and then he's a tough guy, right? Bring it on, tough guy. I mean, Reese deserves to be called a little bitch, because that's what he is, all right? And I hope he does good for my fantasy team, but he's a bitch, and that's all there is to it. Moving on. All right, combined, now I don't want to go through this. Me and Lenny will do this tomorrow. Let me go to the next one. Alex Bregman hit balls with exit velocities of 99, 102, 97, and 102, and 104. All right, 99, 102, 97, 102, and 104. That's 5 batted balls with exit velocities that high, and only 1 hit to show for it. 1 for 5 he went, but MLB players only hit 5 balls at 97 miles an hour or more in one game 14 times last year. That's crazy. Alex Bregman did it 5 times yesterday and only got 1 hit. He went 1 for 2. He did walk twice. He had an RBI and a stolen base yesterday. Alex Bregman and the Astros could not muster much offense. They lost 2 games in a row to the Yankees. 7-1 yesterday they lost. Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman did a double steal in the 3rd inning. And so that's that. The Houston Astros couldn't get it done against the Yankees at home. Malpal's fine with the slide. I know there's a lot of people that are fine with the slide. I don't have a problem with that. I get it. It's just, I'm just telling you how I feel, you know. And it was an embarrassing loss for the Mets. They need to get it together, right? Where's JD Martinez? What the hell does this guy need time in the minor leagues to get ready? Give me a freaking break. Was he not working out this offseason or what? All right, Baltimore can save face by just calling him up next week, and they should. You can believe he won't be called up for 20 games, but I don't know for sure if he's going to miss out on getting Rookie of the Year and all these other things, because he's that good, right? I mean, Wyatt Langford has a leg up on him now for Rookie of the Year, because Wyatt Langford was given an opportunity to start the season in the majors. But, you know, when it all comes down to it, after 162 games, none of this 20 days is going to matter. I know it feels like a lot right now, right? Malpal, yes, all right, it was a legal slide, but you know it was dirty, dude, you know. And whether you're fine with it or not, it's all good. But just the fact that they called it legal, that doesn't mean it wasn't dirty. Look, it depends on how you look at it, and there's obviously not just one right answer here. I have to admit, I'm a Mets fan, so does that make me a little bit crazy right now about how I see it? Possibly. Back in 1989 to 1994, the Oakland A's went almost 5 full years without even one home game attendance as low as this year's opening day. Right? Their 2005 home opener was 44,815. This year's home opener, less than 15,000, but I think that that's even exaggerating, because if you look at the pictures at the ballpark, it was literally just a ghost town. It's so sad. And by the way, 2005 was the last home opener before this fool, John Fisher, took over as majority owner of the club. And I see some A's fans on Twitter still saying they were going to boycott, they were going to have a protest, they want this guy to sell the team. It's just embarrassing at this point. He can run to Vegas. I don't know if they're going to even let him have the ballpark in Vegas. Okay, that hasn't been determined yet. All right, just sipping on my coffee, fellas. Today's only the third time in Spencer Strider. Now, this was yesterday, of course. Yesterday was only the third time in Spencer Strider's MLB career that he threw more non-fastballs than fastballs in the first 3 innings of the game. He did come away with just a no decision, but that doesn't mean he wasn't good. 2 runs, 5 hits, 2 walks, 5 innings, but he struck out 8. 59 of 90 pitches went for strikes, and he generated 18 swinging strikes. And that's typically how he does things, just dominant. In the spring, he led all pitchers with 35 strikeouts in 22 and 2/3 innings, and he racked up 281 strikeouts last year in 186 innings. This guy must have like a 12 or 13 or 15 strikeouts per 9 to get that many strikeouts in 186 innings. So, Spencer Strider did fine, but you risked a lot by drafting him in the first round, because if by chance his ERA suffers the way that it did last year due to bad luck and bad defense, okay, then you are not going to win your fantasy league just with those 280 strikeouts. The guy had an ERA almost 1 full point above what he should have had, which is according to his xFIP. Right? Now, the Phillies bullpen has already allowed 9 runs, okay? They allowed 9 or more runs in just 3 games last season, and now they allowed 7 runs in the 8th inning versus the Braves, the Phillies. In his Yankees debut on Thursday, Juan Soto, the man of the hour, drove in a run, drew multiple walks, threw out the tying run at the plate in the bottom of the 9th. No other MLB outfielder has done all 3 of those things in the same game since RBI became an official stat in 1920. Also, he drew a bases-loaded walk in the 7th inning. This is yesterday's game. He went 3 for 4 with a double, an RBI, and a walk. Bases loaded walk in the 7th, a double in the 8th. He reached base 7 times in his first 10 plate appearances as a Yankee. And through 2 games, he has 3 walks, 1 strikeout, and continues to be one of the league's most disciplined hitter. He's the 7th player to reach base safely 3 or more times in each of his first 2 games with the Yankees. He joins Anthony Rizzo, Johnny Damon, Gary Sheffield, Lee Mazzilli, Charlie Silvera, and Joe DiMaggio. Kevin Pillar has a bold prediction on the Buster Only podcast. He said that Michael Harris, too, is going to win the MVP, which is going to be, boy, oh boy, that's pretty bold if you ask me. He's got other people, too, not just on his own team, which he has maybe the 2 biggest MVPs in baseball with Acuna and Matt Olson, who is on fire already. But Michael Harris being the MVP in the whole National League is pretty bold. So that is Kevin Pillar's bold prediction. Good morning to J.R. Matz. Good morning to Tommy Johnson. Great to see you both. Great to see Mikey, Moose, Danny, and Mrs. Modsinger. We love the whole family. When are you taking the kids to a Reds game? I must find out. All right, Harris went 3 for 5. Michael Harris went 3 for 5 yesterday. 2 runs scored and an RBI in the Braves' 9-3 win over the Phillies. But all 3 of his hits were singles. He's only 23 years old, right? He hit 6th yesterday, and that is great. That was against Zach Wheeler, because the reason it's great is that he batted down at the bottom of the order last year almost all season, so it really hampered his ability to get the counting stats that he could get. I mean, Michael Harris, too, not saying that he's greatest or not the greatest, but he's actually a very good player on a very good team in a solid lineup, and if he could just stay batting 6th, he definitely could be one of the better fantasy assets in baseball. Now, J.R. Matt says he might not get to a Reds game until the summer. Mikey is going to be playing ball a lot this spring. No problem. That's why we have such a great long MLB season. Obviously, it's more important to get the kid out there playing his own baseball, right? Chris from Cambridge. He's off to the post office. Great to see you, Chris. Thanks for coming in today, and have a great time. Now this is how you kick off a Saturday, right? Repping from Canada. Yes, you are our Canadian representative here. Eddie Heckman, love it. Boom, King Hap. Dave Roberts took over as the Dodgers manager in 2016. Since then, the Dodgers have won 755 regular season games, and that is the most of any MLB team over that span. Of course, the Astros are second with 715 wins since 2016. Now, the other day, when we were doing our predictions, and we have a contest going, and King Turd, if you'll go ahead and copy and paste that thing into the chat room. If anybody wants to get in, you can still get in with your predictions. It's only for the chat room people and your kids. If your kids want an entry, they get an entry. That includes Mikey. That includes Moose. That includes Aiden. That includes Turd Jr. Everybody's kid gets an entry. Lenny's giving out a prize. I don't know what it is yet, but it's just a fun thing. You don't have to take too much time to do it. Just, all of you are big enough baseball fans that you could pretty much just give your first instinct answers. Also, you have until, we're going to say Monday to get this in. Just send it to me, send it to Lenny, send it to Turd, and, what was I going to say? Oh, the whole reason I brought it up, which I'm glad I did, but my first instinct was to say that Vlad Jr. was going to get the AL MVP. And then the next day I said, what was I thinking? Vlad Jr.? I mean, there's so many reasons why he's probably not going to get the AL MVP. Might not even be the MVP on his own team. And so I said to Turd, can I change my answer? And he said yes. I changed it to Gunnar Henderson because, well, as Eddie would agree with me, Gunnar Henderson probably has a better chance of being the AL MVP, but it's pretty much wide open. And now I'm wondering if I made a mistake, and you should always go with your gut instincts, because Vladdy Jr., all right, crushed already his first home run of the season. On Thursday, he went 1 for 5 with the solo home run, okay, in Thursday's 8-2 win over Tampa. He demolished Zach Eflin. His home run went 450 feet, and he did get, I will remind you, in 2021, he hit 48 homers, drove in 111, and had a 1.002 OPS. His ability to rebound should be crucial to the Blue Jays. And also, Mark DeRosa, who we love, he goes on to MLB TV, if you guys watch. Mark DeRosa pointed out that Vladdy didn't drop his hands as much in Thursday's game as he did in 2023. He's tighter, he's more direct to the ball, and of course the result was a good opening to the season. Now maybe I'm going to regret changing it to Gunnar Henderson, but what did make me think that maybe you should always go with your gut instincts, okay? Now, the last 3 times an American League team lost its season opener 1-0 at home, of course, is Daniel here, was the White Sox. They did it, okay, at home. They did it this year versus Detroit. They did it in 1940 versus Cleveland, and they did it in 1946 versus Cleveland. All 3 times an American League team lost its season opener at home 1-0 was White Sox. Now the Dodgers, talking about the Dodgers again, Teoscar Hernandez was signed primarily for his ability to do damage against left-handed pitching. He hasn't seen any through their first 3 games. He finally did last night. Now remember, the Dodgers played 2 games in Korea, and one game here, the first 3 games, he did not face any lefties, but he did last night. He hit home runs in his first 2 at-bats against left-handed pitching. So just those pesky Dodgers again, even though they didn't win. Or they did win. They won. Hernandez went 2 for 3 with a pair of home runs and 4 RBIs, and the Dodgers beat the Cardinals 6-3. Teoscar has gone 4 for 17 with 3 extra base hits through his first 4 games in Los Angeles. He's 31 years old. He hit .258 with a .305 on base percentage, 26 homers, 93 RBIs across 625 at-bats with Seattle. Now, 2 things here. Do you remember when we were drafting Teoscar Hernandez like he was the next coming, okay, of Vladdy? I don't know. He was in the Blue Jays when we were doing it. We were drafting him way too high. Then he got over to the Mariners. And you know the Mariners ballpark is not great for home runs. And it showed big time with Teoscar Hernandez. Now he's with the Dodgers in the best lineup in baseball, arguably, depending on how Ohtani does, right? Hernandez is going to be crazy good. I do have a couple shares of Teoscar, and I'm very pleased that I did that. But I just want to remind us that we paid a lot for Teoscar the year he let us down because 26 home runs is not good enough. All right? Dodgers Mookie Betts reached base 13 times in his first 17 plate appearances. I know that makes King happy. He loves Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts leads off with a home run. He's had 3 home runs in 4 games this season. And Walker Buehler, as we mentioned earlier, as Lenny mentioned and we talked about, Walker Buehler will pitch for the Oklahoma City Dodgers in Tacoma. Wait. Yeah. It is OKC. That's the Dodgers minor league team in Oklahoma City. They're going to Tacoma, Washington tomorrow. Walker Buehler will pitch, and he is expected to throw 4 to 5 innings. Now let's go. Good grief. How long does it take a guy to come back from Tommy John surgery? He's going to go 4 to 5 innings. I guess that's good, right? Because it's close to what we need him to do to get back into the rotation. Although the Dodgers, with their Bobby Miller and all this, they seem to be okay for now. Now, the Dodgers also signed Drew Pomeranz to a minor league deal. He's been assigned to OKC. 9-year MLB vet Drew Pomeranz. He's been hampered by injuries the past 2 years. He was with the Angels in spring training, but he didn't make the team and they released him. So the Dodgers said, what the heck, let's get Drew Pomeranz just in case. Mookie Betts, Ohtani, and Freeman have been on base 26 times in the Dodgers' first 3 games, scored 9 runs, and drove in 13. Even though Ohtani and Freeman were combined 0 for 8 last night, the Dodgers offense still scored 6 runs and won 6-3. And by the way, according to the great and wonderful Sarah Langs, she says Mookie Betts now has 29 leadoff homers with the Dodgers, breaking a tie at 28 with Davey Lopes and for the most in franchise history. Who is that chunky boy? Who is that for Oakland? Tell me something. Kevin Mitchell. Okay, he's pretty girthy. Evan Phillips picking up saves. Okay, yesterday versus the Cardinals, striking out 1 in a very clean inning. He set down the Cardinals in order in the 9th inning for his 2nd save of the season. You know, last year, 24 out of 27 save chances. He had a 2.05 ERA with a whip under 1. And he did come in the 8th inning last night, at the end of the 8th inning. Also, another guy for the Giants, Matt Chapman, 111.7 mile an hour exit velocity, his 2nd home run of the night. The Giants only had 1 home run hit harder than that all last season. And it was by Jock Peterson. who hit it 112 miles an hour. My boy Matt Olson, 3 extra base hits, the most by a Braves player on his birthday since at least 1901, and the second Braves player with 3 extra base hits on opening day since at least 1901. You want to talk about MVP? I love Matt Olson. At 20 years and 18 days old, Jackson Chourio is the 5th youngest player with a stolen base in his major league debut since at least 1901. He's also the 5th youngest since at least 1901 to start at leadoff opening day. Freddie Peralta, 8 strikeouts, tied for the most on opening day in Brewers franchise history with Ben Sheets in 2002. He earned the win yesterday against the Mets. 1 hit, a solo home run to Starling Marte. He struck out 8 batters, walked 1 through 6 innings. He retired 13 consecutive batters, and he will pitch again against the Twins in Milwaukee on Wednesday. Yes, that's right. 2 days into the regular season, only one position player from Major League Baseball trade rumors top 50 free agents list remains unsigned. It is Brandon Belt. He says on a podcast the other day, he said that he had very few calls with teams this winter that went any further than the teams expressing loose interest. He never got to the point of talking about money with any of the clubs. Brandon Belt is still a free agent. Now let's talk about Sean Murphy. Braves and Murphy are Murphy hurt. He's got an oblique. He's going on the injured list. Now you're going to have Travis d'Arnaud doing the majority of the catching work. And then they also said they will be calling up Chadwick Tromp. They need to add him to the 40-man roster. They don't have a problem because they have multiple vacancies. The severity of the issue is not known yet. We're still waiting on that, but it will be a notable one because he's one of the better backstops in the league as far as defensively goes. Anyway, he injured his oblique on a swing. So you got Travis d'Arnaud and Chadwick Tromp taking over the catching stuff. The Cubs, speaking of catchers, they signed Curt Casali. It's not that notable, okay? Curt Casali is 35 years old. He's played 10 big league seasons. He was okay with the Reds, all right? And he also played for the Rays. 498 plate appearances, okay, for the Rays between 2017 and 2020. 498 plate appearances in 3 years. He's not a starting catcher, clearly. They also have Yan Gomes and Miguel Amaya as the catchers for the Cubs, but they could always use an extra backup guy, which they're sending down to the minors. Curt Casali. Andres Munoz, Mariners closer, struck out 3, got his first save of the season. He should obviously have the closer job. We knew that. Ryan Stanek came in relief, and then Munoz relieved him. He tallied 13 saves last season, 2.94 ERA, 1.27 whip, strikes out a good amount of batters. Okay, so you got that with Munoz getting his first save. Now, another closer situation that we have to touch on a bit is the Devin Williams Milwaukee situation. Obviously, Devin Williams is going to be their closer, but he's not due back until June, maybe. They have 3 guys that could possibly do it. I think the fantasy world jumped on Joel Payamps, but as I pointed out, because McGill has more blown saves in the majors than he has actual saves, and quickly it was pointed out back to me that Joel Payamps has more blown saves than successful saves in the major as well. Both of these two are more likely to be the setup guys, the relievers, right? The Payamps and McGill. But then you have Abner Uribe, who we don't really know a lot about because he's still a young guy, right? These other 2 guys have been around for quite a while. Uribe yesterday got an opportunity. He threw a 1-2-3 ninth for his second big league save. it looks like after yesterday that this is the guy they're going to rely on for the most part. The manager there has said that he's not ready. He's not really willing to say that there's a specific closer, which makes everybody just crazy in the fantasy community. We want to know who's going to get the opportunity. The opportunity now has gone to the 23-year-old Abner Uribe 2 times in a row. All right, he got his first save chance, and then now he's got his second save. Wait a minute here. Yeah. Oh, it's his second big league save, the first of the season, right? Because yesterday was the time that he got the opportunity. So he has 2 total. Yesterday, they beat the Mets 3-1. And it's got to be Uribe. If I have to choose a guy that I think is going to get the saves until Devin Williams comes back. But just remember, Devin Williams is one of the best closers in baseball, and he is not going to lose his job no matter how good Abner Uribe does his job, okay? He's not going to lose his job. So we do like the chances of Uribe getting the most close or save opportunities. So if you're stuck with Devin Williams, obviously you can't drop him. You go pick up Uribe. Don't spend a bunch of money on Pams or McGill because these guys are not good in that role, and they've proven that they're not good in that role. They might be decent as middle relief guys or setup guys, but they're not someone you want to spend a bunch of fab money on. Okay, that's that. And that's all I got. So how did I do today? This is the first Saturday baseball of the 2024 MLB season, and we're pumped up, right, Leonard?
Wow.
We're pumped up.
Yes, we are.
Chris, I thought you were going to the post office. Am I that addicting that you stayed and you didn't go to the post office? That makes me feel very good. Daniel, hope you didn't miss out on the White Sox stuff we had earlier. It's just great to have all of you in the chat room. I hope that we helped out Bradley with some sleeper NL guys. He's got a draft tonight, so we appreciate you coming back, Bradley, and everybody in the chat room. We just love having you. You guys are the smartest baseball people we know. Data Premier, Big Al on the prowl, Chris from Cambridge, Daniel Ferrara, the Hulkster, Eddie and Teresa Heckman, the whole Heckman clan, J.R. Matz, Moose, Mikey, Danny, King Hap, Jolene, Leonard Donaldson, Lenny, Malpal, Tina. We only have one Teresa. Merrill, Mitchell, the Hartson boys, thanks for joining us. We love everybody. Thanks for coming. Did I miss some people at the bottom? And Turd, of course. How can we forget the Turd? Tommy Johnson.
And there you go.
And a cast of thousands.
Yeah.
Enjoy baseball today. See you tomorrow. Lady and the Legend, 9 a.m.